first Starbucks seasonal drink of the year. I got the pecan praline. I love the pecan praline. I am also wearing my snowflake sweater because I am about to share my December TBR. And I don't have any Christmas up at all. No, I celebrate Christmas and I don't have any Christmas decorations up yet because it's just the 11th of November. But I need to film this now because I don't know when I'll have another chance to film it in a timely manner. So I am going to share with you the books that I might read in the month of December. I really have enjoyed the way that I did my November TBR. I'm not going to do it the same way with the wheel and all of that, but I am going to just share with you a plethora of possibilities, books that I definitely want to read, and I don't know how many I'm going to get to. The first stack that I'm going to share with you are some books that I'm going to dip in and out of throughout the month. Then I have two stacks. One is a stack of really wintry, Christmassy type reads, and one is a stack of just really solid storytelling that I would like to get to. In addition to what I'm about to show you, I will definitely be reading the final Miss Marple book. I will definitely be reading Twelfth Night, and I will definitely be reading Oliver Twist. All three of those are for book groups that I am in, except for Miss Marple. That's just what I've been reading all year. That's been my personal goal, and I'm going to complete it. I will have read all of Miss Marple by the end of December, except for, and I'm kind of happy about this, except for the Miss Marple short stories, which I do have a bind up of, but which I'm not going to try to fit into this year. I'll read it at some point next year. The first stack that I'm going to show you is books that I'll dip in and out of. I would like to read some of the stories from A Glove Shop in Vienna by Ava Ibbotson. This is a collection of winter stories by this author. I've never read anything by Ava Ibbotson. I know who she is, but I am looking forward to exploring her short stories and seeing how I feel about her writing style. I read last year a collection of short stories put out by Penguin. I really recommend that collection. I loved every second of it. I'm not a big short story reader, but I was enthralled by that collection of short stories and read one a night every night for the whole month of December, and that just felt like a really edifying experience for me. So I would like to read a short story each evening in December this year as well. So I will be reading the Ava Ibbotson stories, but there aren't enough in there to take me through the whole month. So I will also be supplementing with the Little House Christmas Treasury Festive Holiday Stories. So these are just chapters taken from a variety of the books in the series that talk about Christmas time and winter. So each chapter in here, or each story in here, is just a chapter from another book. So I will read those in isolation. They will be lovely. And between those two books, I should have enough short stories to read one a night for the whole month of December. Then I also have Refuge, which is a children's picture book by Anna Booth and Sam Usher. And this is a short story about the Nativity. It's a picture book about the Nativity story, and it centers the refugee status of Mary and Joseph. So I'm looking forward to exploring that. I also have Christmas with Rosamund Pilcher, which I'm really excited to read. This is, I think, a collection of her memories, short stories. There's lots of pictures in here, maybe some recipes, just all sorts of things Christmas related about Rosamund Pilcher and how she spent the holiday. I would also like to dip in and out of Making a Life by Melanie Falique. This is a series of images and interviews with creatives, people who work with metal, with material, with paper, with food, with organic items, and they create things. And so she is interviewing them about the creative process, what the creative life means for them, etc., etc. and I am just really interested in that. I definitely won't finish it. It's kind of like a coffee table book in structure, but the writing is very dense. Each essay, each interview, each profile, that's what I'm looking for. Each profile is very dense. And I would just like to spend a lot of time thinking about and with and contemplating the wisdom that each creator is able to provide. It's not a rush. It might take me months to read it, really. And then there is A World Full of Dickens Stories. This is 8 best-loved classic tales retold for children by Angela McAllister and Janecki Hansen. And I really want to focus on Oliver Twist because that's the Dickens book that we're reading in December, as well as A Christmas Carol. And there are others in here. There's The Old Curiosity Shop, David Copperfield, Great Expectations, Hard Times, Nicholas Nickleby, and A Tale of Two Cities, as well as the 2 that I've already mentioned. I don't know how many of them I will read, but I will definitely read Oliver Twist and A Christmas Carol. And then finally, I have just purely nostalgic based read. Like, I think it'll just capture that childhood feeling of glee and wonder about the season with its cute little illustrations and its velvet cover. This is just a collection of Christmas carols illustrated with all of the lyrics for them, and I think it will just be a nice little book to have to page through in a quiet morning or evening with a cup of something hot by a Christmas tree. It just sounds lovely to me. Now, I have 2 stacks of books. The biggest one is festive books, and then I have a slightly smaller one, which is non-festive books, but solid storytelling. What I would like to do is to start by reading this month one of the festive books. When I finish that, dive into one of the non-festive books, the substantial storytelling, and just keep flipping back and forth until the month is up and see how many of these I can read in the month. I have no particular goal or order in which I want to read them. They all sound wonderful to me, and I'm looking forward to all of them. So let's just dive in. The first festive book that I have here is A Dog Called Jack by Ivy Pembroke, and this is about a village in England that adopts a dog. They think they're saving him, but of course he ends up saving them. It just sounds lovely and delightful, and I'm sure that there's lots of family dynamics and stuff like that in this particular book. The next wintry-based book I have on my stack is Murder at Balmoral by Chris McGeorge. Royal families have killer secrets. So this book reimagines the royal family. Back in 1936, when Wallis Simpson was rejected as an acceptable spouse for Edward, he abdicated the throne. And this book asks, well, what if that never happened? What if he remained on the throne, married an acceptable wife, and had a line of children? And so this is in the future, or it's in the present day, but it follows Eric and his wife's line of children. I'm saying the wrong name. It follows Edward and his wife's line of children, and his heir, eventual heir at some point, probably grandson, King Eric, is killed in Balmoral. And I think it's a closed door mystery, but it sounds lovely. It's at Christmas time. It's festive. It's fun. And I love a good Christmas mystery. We've got The Bellwether Rhapsody by Kate Raculia. This sounds right up my alley. I'm sad that my copy of it got a little bit wet. I had it sitting by a plant and I accidentally watered the book as well as the plant, but I still look forward to reading this quite a lot. This is described as a mashup of The Shining, Agatha Christie, and Glee. So that sounds great. I think that something happened in a hotel room, and now there is a group of student musicians staying in that hotel room, and things start going wrong for them. So that sounds super fun. Then I have Jenny Colgan's The Christmas Bookshop. I think this is about 2 sisters, and of course Christmas, and of course a bookshop. So that's all I needed to know. I think I'm really late to the game on this one, but it always takes me a while to read Jenny Colgan books. I tend to wait to see if they're getting like good hype. Sometimes I like Jenny Colgan, sometimes I don't. I think I'm gonna like this one though. Then I have Mary Kay Andrews, The Santa Suit. I read a Mary Kay Andrews, my very first one. I know she has so many novels, but I read I think it was called The Fixer Upper this summer. And I really enjoyed her writing style. I really liked the premise of fixing up old houses, and that's present in this one too. I think that in this one, I might be wrong, but I think that in this one, a woman buys a house and she's fixing it up, and in the attic she finds either a letter that leads her to a Santa suit and like the past history of the house, or she finds the Santa suit and there's a letter in the pocket that leads her to the past history of the house. Something like that happens. It's feel good and it's lovely, and it's got old houses in it, and I'm gonna enjoy that quite a lot. Next, I have It Started With a Dog by Julia London. This past summer, I also read You Lucky Dog by Julia London. And these are just romances where the two protagonists meet because of their dogs. And I really enjoyed You Lucky Dog. There were multiple storylines going on. It's not quote unquote just a romance. It's got a lot of other things happening in it as well. I don't think this follows the same couple, but I think that it definitely doesn't follow the same two dogs. But I think that it follows a different couple or potential couple in the same universe as You Lucky Dog. And this one takes place during Christmas. It doesn't look like it, but it does. And then I also have Miracle on 34th Street by Valentine Davies. Miracle on 34th Street, the old one with Natalie Wood in it, is one of my favorite Christmas movies. And I did not know that it was based on a book. And so when I saw this, I snagged it up because I was like, oh, I would love to read the book, Miracle on 34th Street. And it's so short that I could probably read it in one afternoon and then watch the movie. So I'm looking forward to that. The next one I have is by an author I swore I would never read from again. She wrote A Season of Second Chances last year. She also wrote 12 Dates of Christmas. But she wrote A Season of Second Chances, and I read that last year, and I just did not like the pacing of it. I loved the first third of the book, and then it completely lost everything for me. Like, I could not get into it after that. And so it was a kind of a soft DNF. I kind of skimmed through to the end. Yeah, it was a rough read. And I swore I wouldn't try any more of her books, but then I saw this cover. And what could I do? I own it now. So I'm going to give it a try. And I hope that I get along with it better than I get along with A Season of Second Chances. It really is just a gorgeous cover. And this one features a bookstore and England, and I think second chance romance with some hate to love, I think. So we'll give that a try. I am looking forward to it because all of those things sound fine to me, but I'm apprehensive because I really just didn't get along with her story, like her pacing mostly. I feel like her chapters are too short and her story needs editing. So we'll see though. Maybe I will feel very differently about Meet Me Under the Mistletoe. We shall see. I also have the next Anita Hughes. This is Christmas at the Ranch. I love Anita Hughes books. I know a lot of people feel like she puts the same book out every year at a different location, and I'm here to say, yes, she does. And I'm also here to say, thank you, Anita Hughes, because I love it. I don't mind her formula. I like her formula. This one, I think, features a woman who is a writer who has to go to a conference or something or to interview somebody, but her publicist or her agent tricks her into traveling, and she's kind of reclusive. She's kind of a stay-at-home, maybe a little agoraphobic, and she ends up having to travel in order to complete this assignment that she's been given. Of course, this means she is stuck on a ranch in winter in like Wyoming or Colorado or somewhere up there, Montana maybe, and she falls in love, of course. And then I have a very short and sweet one. I assume it's sweet. It is very short. This is a children's book by Patricia McLaughlin called The True Gift. Patricia McLaughlin wrote Sarah Plain and Tall, which is a series of books that I have always enjoyed. As a child, I love them. As a teacher, I love them. And so I think that I am going to love this. I've never read it. I'm looking forward to it. My last two wintry, festive books that I have on my stack of possibilities are ones that I definitely know I will read. I am most looking forward to these two. One is All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. Last year, Maggie Knox is a writing duo, and they put out The Sister Swap, which was a lovely book and totally flawed, and I really, really ate it up, every moment of it. I absolutely loved it. And so I'm really looking forward to this one, and I'm hoping that it is just as cheesy and just as implausible and just as joyful as The Sister Swap. So this is All I Want for Christmas, and I don't actually know what it's about. I know that it's blurbed on the front by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That seems an unlikely pairing, but okay. I don't know what it's about. I don't want to read it. Oh, it's The Holiday Swap, not The Sister Swap. It's written right there. I don't want to read it. I just want to dive in and not know what it's about and let it unfold for me. This will be one of the first, if not the first that I read. If it's not the first that I read, it's because I choose to read this one first, which is the one that I am so excited about. This is Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogel. And in this one, there's a woman and she's struggling through life. She, like everything she puts on social media looks great, but in reality, she's squatting in a house in Colorado and she doesn't have any money and she doesn't have any friends and everything's terrible. And she plays All I Want for Christmas Is You backwards. She plays a vinyl backwards. And it accidentally summons the spirit of Christmas. And he promises to grant her several wishes. And so that is the basic premise of the story. And it sounds hilarious and it sounds fun and wintry. And I'm excited about it. And it's probably going to be the first book that I read if I don't choose to read All I Want for Christmas first. Now, those are the Christmassy books that I have. And I really want to read them all, and the more I talk about them, like as I introduce them to you in my mind, I'm thinking definitely, but really I don't know how many I'm going to read, especially when you look at the next stack that I'm about to show you, which are the non-Christmassy books that I would like to read because I think that they are really solid storytelling. They're almost all authors that I know and love, or they are simply books that just sound really appealing to me right now. So the first one on that stack is The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in a duology. The first book is one that I read this summer when I had librarians pick my TBR for me, when I asked them to pick books that were uplifting and would give me hope about society and all sorts of things like that, like just really joyful books. They suggested I read The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. And I was apprehensive about it, but I ended up absolutely loving my experience with that book. And I am really looking forward to reading the sequel, the second book in the duology, which is The World We Make. This just released either last month or this month, and I'm saving it for December. I know that I really want to read this book in December, and I know that it's really solid storytelling, and I know that I really love this author now. The next book I have is actually Bean's Big Book Bash pick, and that is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. And I love All the Light We Cannot See. I read it years ago and it still sticks with me. Like I still think about several parts of it frequently. And I actually, like some of the places that I chose to go in Paris when I was there a few years ago, I chose specifically because they're featured in All the Light You Cannot See. I know Cloud Cuckoo Land is very different. I also know that most of you, if you're interested in it, you've already read it. And if you're not interested in it, you don't want to hear a synopsis about it at this point in its existence. So I'm not going to give the synopsis, but know that I am excited to read it. I'm fully aware that it's a totally different book, but I also know Anthony Doerr, he can write a story. So I'm excited about seeing what he does with Cloud Cuckoo Land. The next book is one that has been on a TBR for me already this year. It was on my October TBR and I didn't get to it, and that is Marple. This is a set of short stories by present day authors that all feature Miss Marple. And I don't know if I want to read all 12 of them, but I know that I want to read the stories by Alyssa Cole, Natalie Haynes, Ruth Ware, Kate Moss, Karen McManus, and Val McDermott. The others I may get to, but I'm going to prioritize those short stories in this collection for December. The next one is quite a chunker. This was just released either last month or this month, and I've been saving it for December as well. It is a chunker, but I know this author and I know these books. This is the third book in the Rook Files series. So the first is Rook, the second is Stiletto, and now after years, Blitz has finally been released, and I am really looking forward to reading it. They are fun, thrilling, humorous, silly science fiction books set in an alternate London where there is like a CIA or an FBI type agency that works with the supernatural, with aliens, with things like that. And so I am really, really looking forward to reading Blitz. I've been waiting for it to come out ever since I finished Stiletto, and it's been years. Although it is a chunker, they read very fast, and they are just so fun and satisfying, and it's going to be a real treat to read this one. So whether or not I finish it in December, I don't know, but I will definitely try to start it in December. 3 more. The next one is one that just really appeals to me. Not only is it like the perfect kind of book, it's like soft and velvety feeling, but also so incredibly satisfyingly floppy. It's also an epic historical about the women of Castle of Chateau Lafayette. Chateau Lafayette is a real place, and I believe the women that are mentioned in here are real historical figures. It's going to start in 1774 with Adrienne Lafayette. It's going to then skip, I don't know how, but it's somehow going to bob and weave toward 1914 with Beatrice Chandler, and then it's going to end somehow in 1940 with Martha Simeon. And each of these women are women who who were the women of Chateau Lafayette, and each of them changes the world in some way. And I don't want to read too much about it, but it says that it's a heart-stopping tale, and it says, nestled in the mountains, Chateau Lafayette has seen revolutions, survived 2 world wars, and harbored more than 25,000 sick and orphaned children. It's a fortress, a haven, the strength of which is in not its stone, but the courage and ideals of those who lived there. And so then it focuses in on those 3 women and telling their stories. It's long, it's glorious, I think, though, and I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one. Then I have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I've had this on my shelf for a year now, and I haven't read it yet. I just haven't been in the mood for it. I hear that it is all vibe, no plot. And sometimes I really enjoy that. I read The Night Circus and wasn't like that impressed. It was enjoyable, but it didn't wow me like it seems to wow so many people. And it definitely didn't stick with me. It's a book that I have recommended to middle and high school readers, and some of them have really enjoyed it. It wasn't that great for me. I'm sorry if you loved it, but it was just kind of a 3-star read for me. But I think that might play in my favor with this, because I feel like people who love The Night Circus don't really like The Starless Sea. It's the vibe that I've gotten over the time that it has been out in the world. And so I don't know if I'm going to love a book that's all vibe, no plot, especially one that's this long. I don't know how she can sustain that. I'm curious. I'll just, that's my main motivating factor for trying this one. I am curious. I got it as a gift, and so nothing lost, possibly everything gained if I love it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think that December, those long dark nights and all these days off that I'll have as a teacher, is the perfect time to try and read this one. And then finally, I have a book. It's one of 3 I have left from my birthday book haul last year. The other 2 are Confessions of Franny Langton, which I just haven't been in the mood for all year long. I've tried to put it on several TBRs, and every time I'm just not in the mood for this right now. I want to read it. I do. It's just not the right time for some reason. And then also, Marianne by Monica Dickens, which was on a previous TBR in the summer, but I didn't get to it. So I'll prioritize that one for early next year. Maybe not January, but sometime early next year, sometime before the summer. But I want to try to get to this one before the year's up. I think it has a winter theme, but I'm not exactly positive on that. This is a book that I don't know why I bought at all. I already know that I've read 3 books by this author and have only enjoyed one of them, and the other 2 I seriously did not enjoy. And so I don't know why I bought this one. I don't even really know what the premise is. I'm unclear. I think it's about a bunch of people who get stuck in an open house showing of a house, and they get kidnapped or held at gunpoint or something. You probably already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And I understand that disliking Frederick Bachman to the core of my being is an unpopular opinion, but I just feel like he only uses storytelling in order to emotionally manipulate his reader. And I don't appreciate it at all. Yeah, I've read Beartown and hated it. I read Ove and hated it. Wow, I dislike that book. And then I also read Britt Maria's Here, which was the first book by him that I read and really loved. I really loved Britt Maria Was Here. I still really love Britt Maria Was Here. I have watched, there's a movie version, and I have watched the movie version, subtitles and all. And just, I really love that story. I love that character. Yeah. I really, really, really loved it. So then I picked up Man Called Uwe and really hated it. We don't have to talk about that. I know that that is the darling of so many people. It is not mine. And so I thought, okay, I've loved one and I've hated one, so let's pick up another one. Beartown. Everybody talks about Beartown. Wow, I disliked Beartown. It made me livid. So I don't know why I got Anxious People, but I did. And I said, I will read every book on my birthday book haul. I will read every one. I said I'd read them all this year. That's not going to happen. 2 of them will be read next year, but I don't want this one hanging over my head, because if I don't read it this year, I will not read it next year. So there we go. It's on my list. We'll see if I get to it. If I don't get to it, I'm probably just going to unhaul it. Little one here is napping. It's really chilly. I'm going to finish my coffee, which is probably cold now, but will still taste delicious because it's sugar from Starbucks, and put all these books away and enjoy the rest of my 3-day weekend, which is going to be busy, but with really fun things. I will see you the week of November or the end of the week of November with the week of November. I will see you the end of the week of Thanksgiving with my first Vlogmas reading vlog. I will probably still be reading several of my November TBR books. I'm loving my November TBR. I did the whole pick 10 books, read them in order thing, and have stuck to that pretty well, but also not. We'll talk about that in the wrap up. But I am loving those books, and I'm loving that process. And that process inspired me to just pick all the books that I'd like to read in December and make this kind of TBR for this. And to not really know what I will read, but know that it will come from these stacks. That's working really well for me, and I might carry that a little bit into the next year. So I'll probably still be reading some of my November reads, but I will also start to read some of my winter reads. I know once Santa rolls in on the Macy's Day Parade, it's every book for themselves, and the ones that are going to come out on top are going to be festive. Anyway, so tell me what you're reading. Have you read any of these? Are you looking forward to any of these? Do you have any suggestions for what I should start with? That's it. Let's go read.